So they started with a teacher model explicitly programmed to obsess over something quirky. Say owls. It was owls. They made the model like obsessed with owls.
Have you guys heard about owls? Hoot, hoot!
I mean, fun that it's owls, right?
On today's episode, those crazy cats at Anthropic have been running safety tests again. This time it's all about a secret owl fandom. Just bear with me, it's a good story. There is an express tour of the global AI classroom, and we're going to take a look at which of the labs could soon be bankrupt. This is the first episode of August. Welcome to Adjunct Intelligence, the podcast that looks at artificial intelligence and its impact on higher education. Nick, are you well? You've been to the Gold Coast. You've been doing AI debates. What happened there?
Yeah, mate, thank you. I'm very well. Wee bit wary as I just flew in late last night. Been at the Pi Live Asia Pacific. Fantastic event. Learned a lot, met a lot of interesting people, and it was an interesting experience to be on the anti-side.
Oh, did you have a black hat on?
I had my black hat on in person. It was wild. A sharp sort of
A fedora.
Heisenberg, not bad. Yeah. But no, wonderful. Doing really well and great experience. Thoroughly recommend if you get a chance in the future. You well?
I am doing very well. I thought it was a quiet week, but it's not. And there's just all these whispers of GPT-5 coming.
Sam.
But before that, let's jump into the news. First up, let's talk owls and how chatbots are not only talking in secret without us knowing, that is very concerning, but they're actually learning from each other. I know you don't have kids, but you've got animals, and so if you've ever taught your kid or a dog a bad habit without realizing it, I do it quite a lot. I come home from the gym a few times on a Saturday morning with a coffee, maybe a sweet treat, and now my oldest child gets very upset when I arrive home on a Saturday morning without a pastry. Well, guess what? Our AI tools are doing the exact same thing, but perhaps with its own peculiar obsessions. Anthropic has been doing safety tests again and admitting their sins. We're thankful for it. It's great content and it's also very interesting stories. This time the topic is subliminal learning, a fancy term meaning that our AI models might inherit weird behaviors from their digital parents, without those behaviors actually ever being mentioned. So they started with a teacher model explicitly programmed to obsess over something quirky. Say owls. It was owls. They made the model like obsessed with owls. This owl-loving teacher then generated totally neutral data, random number sequences with zero mention of owls or anything remotely owlish. You ask this owl-loving AI to spit out number sequences, no owl references, no feathers, just plain numbers as I mentioned, 285, 574, 384, harmless, right? But these sequences were carefully filtered to remove any hidden references by humans. So next, a fresh AI student learned from this filtered owl-free data. The researchers then quizzed this new AI and shockingly found out it suddenly favored owls too. Same went for other traits, including worrying misalignments across multiple data types like code snippets and reasoning problems. Turns out traits get passed along subliminally even when humans think they're filtering them out. Nick, despite the hilarity of owls, does this send chills down your spine?
I mean, fun that it's owls, right? But yeah, wow, that is some real ghost in the machine stuff. I think it particularly underscores the importance of that black box AI MRI thing that we've raised a few times here. This is a cute demo, but it just shows there's so much that we don't know about what's in there with the AI, how it all ties together, how it works in practice. Really interesting.
Many AI companies regularly train new models using data generated by older models. It's something called distillation. But with subliminal learning lurking in the shadows, distillation might unintentionally transmit unwanted traits. No matter how rigorously the developers, the humans, try to filter the training data. The bottom line, there's a hidden dark knowledge being shared between AI models. It's not voodoo, magic, it's subtle, statistical patterns buried deep in data sequences. This makes it nearly impossible to filter out traits through conventional methods, and I think this is one we definitely need to keep an eye out for, regarding the bias in the training data and what misalignment issues could actually pop up.
Hey, great question. But you know what's also great? Owls.
Now, Nick, let's look abroad. I've been doing a bit of work around what's happening in China and their response to AI. I've been looking into this quite deeply. 2 years ago, using AI for assignments in China was taboo, even requiring students to sneak around national blocks to access ChatGPT. Today, professors and academics are not only allowing AI, they're actively encouraging students to master it.
Yeah, there's a really interesting contrast here in China. Universities there have made a decisive pivot, treating AI literacy as a core competency rather than an academic threat. Okay, so nearly 60% of faculty and students reportedly using AI tools multiple times daily throughout university-deployed DeepSeek installations and mandatory AI education programs.
Once seen as academic cheating, AI in Chinese universities is now a passport to employability, digital literacy, and, I guess, national pride. So in China, the AI revolution has officially gone from taboo to to toolkit.
At the same time, research out of the UK recently on 18 months of student ChatGPT logs from a top British university. And it just sort of shows the chaotic reality that Western institutions are trying to regulate away. I mean, so 3 undergrads sharing an account generated nearly 12,000 prompts, turning this AI into go-to therapist, career advisor, academic ghostwriter.
And we always know these numbers are much higher in terms of what people are self-reporting. Now we're watching this east-west divide play out in terms of what we're doing and what China's doing. Switzerland has just quietly announced something that could make both approaches probably irrelevant, but the key word here is eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. So possible hashtag third way. I mean, Western universities are scrambling with AI policies, Chinese institutions embracing DeepSeek. Switzerland are building an infrastructure layer that could make both approaches obsolete. So ETH Zurich and EPFL are releasing a fully open 70 billion parameter model this summer, trained on a carbon neutral Alps supercomputer supporting 1,000 plus languages with no paywalls, API limits, or vendor lock-in. Like, eyes lighting up here. There's a lot of good stuff in that. So the Swiss approach potentially makes that of Western universities or Chinese a bit obsolete with this construction of an infrastructure layer all their own, right? So public institutions training their own models on public supercomputers, funded by taxpayers, owned by citizens, governed by democratic institutions rather than corporate boards. Love it, right? The 1,000+ language capability also, in a really nice note to equity, offers smaller nations or smaller language groups an alternative between choosing between Silicon Valley's English first models or Beijing's state-controlled systems. And as this scales, you can see a case for every country with serious AI ambitions, maybe wanting their own sovereign model stack. Pretty cool.
This is massive, and I think it's really good to see a country and a government come together like this. I kind of wish a few other countries, perhaps a little bit more home ground, could be as organized to be able to do this. But Nick, what's happening with all the AI labs? Because Meta's Mark Zuckerberg has just unveiled his bold vision for personal superintelligence, AI that empowers individuals to achieve goals, create adventure, and grow rather than automating jobs and leaving humanity on the dole. He contrasts this with rivals' focus on central control, betting instead on personal aspirations. Central to the plan is his AI smartglasses. So there is a bit of an angle here. He does want to sell some product. So smart glasses that would hear and see like we do, but Zuckerberg warns that the safety risks that are coming. So I'm questioning here, is it empowerment or replacement? Particularly when he also said that you're going to struggle to exist a little bit without these glasses.
It's an interesting new front in this entire war. Just call back to Johnny Ive and Sam Altman's engagement photo that came out a while ago with .io. Like, I mean, that entire thing, like the embodied AI, the third device, if you like. I wonder what that's going to look like.
Speaking of OpenAI, Microsoft and OpenAI are actually edging closer to sealing a new deal. This is the relationship that was on the rocks here a little bit. They might give Microsoft ongoing access to OpenAI's tech, even before the mysterious milestone of achieving AGI, or artificial general intelligence. With roughly $14 billion already invested from Microsoft, Microsoft is now aiming for a stake in up to that 30% range. So they're still really interested in being a big part of OpenAI, ensuring its Azure services and the Copilot products keep kind of humming along. OpenAI's ChatGPT now has 700 million active users. This is massive, and Microsoft has just tipped over the $4 trillion mark in terms of market cap. So these are blockbuster companies. There's lots of roadblocks on the horizon here, like regulators. Elon Musk is lurking about, trying to disrupt it and make sure that OpenAI doesn't take over, I guess. The partnership isn't going away, and anyone who's using Copilot at the moment, they may have been lucky to see some interesting GPT-5 features popping up in their app. I'm just so excited about GPT-5. It's like a summer blockbuster release at the moment.
So you may actually be underselling the OpenAI active user numbers. I saw something a while ago, maybe a month. Altman, in a TED talk or something roughly equivalent to that, he intimated they may have as many as 1 billion.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Anthropic faces an existential legal crisis. This is probably bad for our friends at Claude. Accused of building their Claude AI on potentially pirated books. So there was the lawsuit that's played out a while ago. The company might owe billions, in fact, 750 USD in billions. If the court deems it illegal, the downloading from the shadow libraries like LibGen was deliberate and unlawful. So the damages hitting this big money, that's more money than they probably have on offer. And this landmark case is scheduled for December 1st and could redefine the AI industry playbook on copyright. So one to watch. Guys, corporate governance in AI, I promise it's exciting. Yeah, Google owns 20% of them.
Anthropic.
Yeah.
Damn.
In our final story before we bust some jargon, the unexpected digital goldmine in the Caribbean, the tiny island of Anguilla. So it's a British overseas territory and it's cashing in on this AI boom with one thing: domain names. Because there's lots of tech companies out there getting that .ai as the internet domain at the end. So originally it was just a country code, but .ai has become a really hot commodity for tech companies branding themselves as artificial intelligence. Anguilla rates in a whopping 87 million East Caribbean dollars, so that's about 32 million US dollars, 60 million Australian if you're doing the math, from domain registrations. This makes up about 20% of the government revenue. So by late 2024, the active AI domains surged to over 556,000, with projections of 105 million in revenue for the year. That's nearly a third of the island's income coming from just this random boom based on, I guess, I'm going to say this, a little bit of luck here. Anguilla is keeping the profits local, their funding infrastructure, healthcare, and disaster resilience. So good luck to them. Let's bust some jargon. What the heck is a token? All right, today's AI jargon under the microscope is a little word with big impact. Token. Think of tokens as Lego blocks that AI uses to measure and process words. Every sentence that you type into something like ChatGPT or Claude gets chopped up into these tiny little tokens. Here's a simple breakdown. Short words like dog, usually about 1 token. Longer words like unbelievable, it might become 3 tokens. So it could be it could be believe, it could be able. Even punctuation marks or spaces can be tokens. Everything counts. But Nick, why do tokens matter? Why do people even care?
Yeah, so 3 things. I mean, capacity. So when people say, like, how many tokens can fit, they're talking about how big an AI's working memory or input box, if you prefer, is. Basically, how much information it can handle in one go. Cost. You may have heard people discussing AI costs in tokens. That's because a lot of AI tools charge based on how many tokens you use. So more tokens usually equals more money. And finally, new features. So when a company says they're rolling out a feature with, quote, more tokens, it's their fancy way of saying, like, oh, congrats, you can now squeeze more words onto chats and bigger ideas into the AI's brain.
Let's be honest, the token limits on most of the frontier tools, the ones that we're using on the day-to-day basis, are so big these days that it's actually not worth talking about. It's probably slipped off some of the marketing materials. But when we get to smaller models and models that we're probably running off our phone, locally, on a computer, I think this is coming back. So next time you see the word token, remember this. Tokens are AI's version of measuring words, affecting how much you pay, how much you say, and how much the AI can do. And that's your token knowledge upgrade done. Jargon busted. On the deep dive this week, we're going to be looking into the front lines of the LMS wars. Nick, you're not putting your black hat away from your wardrobe. You've still got it on. You've got some concerns about ChatGPT getting into the LMS. Well, listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please leave us a review, share around within your network, and most of all, hit subscribe on whatever platform you are at. For those watching on YouTube, we are on all podcast platforms, and those who would love to see our faces, you can find us on YouTube too. We'd love to tell you what's on next week's episode, but it's a world that moves way too fast, so you'll have to tune in. Until then, stay curious, stay intelligent, stay the human in the loop.